Welcome back to the podcast, lovers and friends. If you watched the Super Bowl, that is where I got that inspiration because of Usher. It is 3 o'clock and we're drinking gin and we're finally together. So
I made these delicious drinks. It's called the Bee's Knees. It was very easy and they are very good. So there is gin, agave, and lemon. That's it. And then I topped it with some basil and a lemon wheel.
I like it. It's very it's tart. If you don't like tart things, you only like sweet, like this will not be the drink for you. We tried it with honey, didn't love how it was mixing, so we added agave. But if you like I don't know, refreshing, it feels refreshing. Anyways, we're about to go to a Galentine's party, but we are finally recording together, which I think is very exciting. We have a lot to catch up on.
Yeah, a lot. We barely talked today so that we could catch up on the podcast. I've asked her some questions. She's like, I can't talk about it yet. I can't talk about it yet. So here we are.
So yes, let's catch up on all the things. If you are caught up on the podcast, Tayler just did a solo episode and mentioned that I was in New York. So I was in New York for the freaking Super Bowl, which I thought was very annoying. That never happens. We always have the Super Bowl. We actually don't always have the Super Bowl together, but we try to have the Super Bowl together. So what'd you think of Usher?
Okay, I'm an Usher girl. I loved him. So I spent the Super Bowl with my sister. It was so fun. We had so much fun and had the best food. And she's 8 years younger than me. And I never, we're so similar. I don't really think of our age difference until things like this happen. She knew nothing about Usher, not a thing. And I was like, you don't remember me listening to him growing up? And she's like, not really. And then she was watching him and it was kind of, so Shelby's son Jaden said earlier, oh, Usher's just for old people.
If you're 40 and above, you got the halftime show. And I looked at him and I said, what about 30 and above? Excuse you,
She
sir.
was kind of the same. She was because her boyfriend's our age, and we were all singing and dancing and having a great time. And she was just like, this is so weird. And then Luda came out and he had his afro.
Oh, yeah, Luda.
Which he hasn't had his afro forever. So I was like, oh my God, Luda has his afro. And she's like, oh, did he not have one before? And I was like, not for years. She just didn't understand. Which it's fine, but Usher still has it. I'm not really attracted to black men, but Usher is
sign me up.
He has always been so hot, and he still has got it. I still think that him and Alicia Keys have a thing.
Usher and Nelly both are very attractive.
Well, Nelly is. Maybe I am into black men.
What I will say is, so I watched the Super Bowl at a bar in New York, and that was not the vibe. It's not what I would prefer, but it was fine. They turned the sound on. It was okay. The game itself was meh.
The beginning was so boring.
Yeah, and so that made it difficult. The end was really fun. We watched the end in our hotel room and we were really into it. Henley and my coworker had a bet. He's 55 and he's my work dad, I would say. Not actually, he's not actually, now that I think about that. We're just really good friends and he's old as fuck. So he's a dad. But he was trying to get Henley involved, and so he was like, hey, your parents against betting? And she was like, huh? And so we were like, no, we're not. And so he's like, here's $2, Henley, who do you think is gonna win? And I'll bet, and I'll say who I think is gonna win, and whoever wins gets these $2. So she was suddenly invested. So that was a very smart move. But she was very stressed that she was not gonna get her $2.
Who did she vote for?
The Chiefs. So she won. Because Taylor, she's a Swiftie.
Yeah, that's true.
But yeah, so she was very stressed because parted ways because the game was it was okay, we're going home, but also the game wasn't over. And so she was like, what about my money? She was so stressed. But the halftime show is when it took a turn for me. I was probably half a bottle of wine in. And Usher came out and I was like, if he did not, I stand by this, if he did not bring out guests, his show would have sucked.
You think?
If he didn't bring Alicia Keys out, if he didn't bring Luda, If he didn't have those
Little
bangers,
John, how can we forget about Little John?
Lil Jon, if you didn't bring them out, his music itself is pretty slow and boring.
Confessions Part 2 is always going to be in my top 5
Okay,
favorite
but are you
songs.
gonna jam to that while you're getting hyped at the Super Bowl? No,
Yeah,
you're gonna do that
baby.
while you're fucking Tony.
Probably not, because that song's about cheating. But, you know.
But it's like that's the vibe of the song though, you know?
Yeah,
So it's like
yeah.
unless he brought other people, so he was very clever to do that. I was still holding out hope that JB would show up.
Same.
Henley and I were like, Justin's coming out. Justin was at the Super Bowl. He was
Mhm.
asked. Justin turned it down, and I'm still upset about it. But I got into it. I enjoyed the songs, but he did do himself a solid by bringing people with him.
Yeah, I will say my sister was really holding out for JB as well because she's a big believer. She's definitely the age range that like Justin Bieber was huge. And so I was sad for her that he didn't come out. But you know what? Usher still has it, and I really want to go see him in Vegas so bad.
I mean, he's just like a different vibe. For me, for the Super Bowl, that was the vibe that like last year's with Eminem.
That was actually 2 years ago. Did you know that? I feel like, okay, let's talk about what the heck? No, we need to talk about this because I feel like last year's Super Bowl didn't even happen at all.
It's because we didn't spend it together.
But like, it's so weird. I didn't even remember who performed.
Did we spend M&Ms together?
Yeah, we were at Melanie's,
Okay.
remember?
Yes.
But no, I thought Eminem was last year.
Same.
It was 2 years ago. Rihanna was last year.
And she was pregnant.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, but it's weird. I feel like last year did not even happen at all.
This is something I'm noticing in my aging.
Mm-hmm.
And it's gotten worse.
Mm-hmm.
The older I'm getting, the more I think everything was last year.
Okay, this is
and
the
I still
thing.
think the 90s were like 10 years ago.
Same. But this is the thing. I was listening to this podcast called Psychedelic Therapy Frontiers. I don't know if I mentioned on here. Highly recommend. I just got called out that I say this all the time. Okay, but
we're gonna make Taylor a highly recommend sweater. It's gonna be sold in our swag that we sell for our podcast because she's always like, I highly recommend, which is fine. I want your recommendation. I just think it's funny that you always say it.
Okay, so Psychedelic Therapy Frontiers, they're two therapists that are in Salt Lake City, and they do a lot of psychedelic therapy, but they also like their podcast is about psychedelic therapy and about just regular therapy. They were talking about this episode that I actually really want to do a topic on because it was so interesting. It was about like adulthood, like because there's different stages of ages, like when you're younger, like psychologists have studied that, but as adults there's also different stages that a lot of psychologists haven't like studied and researched, but they have, so they were talking about it. But there is this thing that they were talking about called COVID. I can't remember what they call it, COVID stunting. And basically COVID was so traumatic for everybody that all of our brains kind of got stunted at that age that we're at. And that when COVID happened, and that's why none of us feel as old as we are, is because in our mind, 2 whole years of our lives were taken away. And so we're still thinking, like for you and I, we're still thinking we're about 32, not about to turn 34. Because our brains, like the trauma made our brains kind of stop. And everybody has had this happen because like, even if you don't think COVID was that traumatic, in ways it was for your brain. And so it was so interesting. And so now psychologists are beginning to study that because so many people are like, I don't feel like I'm this age. I feel like I missed out. Like these whole years are like lost from my brain. It was so interesting. And so yeah, it's definitely being studied by psychologists now, but it makes sense because I feel like there's literal years of my life that are missing. Like Napa, I feel like that was like a fever dream.
Yeah.
Like, and that's because of the trauma, like your brain's kind of stunted right
Here's what I would also say. I listened to something else on some podcast or in a book where it was talking about like how the American dream is right now and the way that we have how we live our lives now is making it so that we're so overstimulated and in like burnout stages so often that we're also getting gaps. So like our brain's forgetting things because we finally get respite. That was so weird to me to use such a grown-up word.
Yeah.
I'm 39 at this point. What the fuck? Respite?
Not turning 34 this year.
Oh my God, respite. We finally get like a moment to chill. That it sometimes like makes it so our brain doesn't remember the relaxing parts or when we do get the breaks and all these things. And so when you're overstimulated too, your body's not like understanding all of these different things, and so it's making it so people's memories are worse too. So I could see both of these being like a huge factor because it's facts.
They actually talk about this as well. I really love this podcast. It's actually my dream to do some sort of something with them. They are two of the most smartest men ever. Like, they seem like amazing therapists. Like, their podcast is so good, the stuff that they talk about. And they've talked about that too. Like,
Yeah.
it's so, the brain, as I get further into my schooling, I'm like, wow, the brain is so amazing, but also like,
It does
it's
what it wants
crazy.
to. Like,
Yeah,
I
it's
just posted
so
on my
crazy.
Instagram the other day, like how crazy it is that your brain can like, I'm reading multiple books, I listen to multiple podcasts a week. I'd go to work, I'm on my phone, and my brain is literally able to keep all of it in these folders and process it all. I can start this book and know exactly what we were talking about. And like, I don't think everyone has that. I think
No.
sometimes people are like, I can only do one at a time. I probably have like a very over functioning brain, which is why I forgot that it wasn't a year ago. But it's just the brain does so much. Or like when you think about it, like I didn't tell myself to move my hands right now. My brain is literally doing it and I didn't even know it was doing it. Like your body does all these things all the time and your brain's controlling it and you don't even think about that.
Well, think about, we're like getting, like, we have not smoked weed. It seems like we have. But think about, like, your blood is just like pumping through your veins without even being told that it needs to. Like, your heart is just like moving that blood around. Like, it's so, the body is
It's
such
such
a
a trip.
crazy thing.
This is what I said. Like, if I was a pot smoker, I would go on tangents like this all the time because it's like you really don't think about it that often, but it blows your freaking mind. And it's really kind of creepy if you think about it, but so cool at the same time.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. It's wild.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyways, I have a bunch of notes of things I want to catch up on. So you probably also have some stuff, but you also have talked, but we haven't talked a lot. Like we haven't really seen each other a lot. So, if you follow me on Instagram, I've been going fucking through it. Work has been really, really stressful. They're trying to make a bunch of changes that are not okay with me. There's somebody working in another position that is a man that got promoted to this position that's causing a lot of problems. And I'm a closet feminist to my core for sure. And I don't know when women will get the chance to like be really in charge because men just really fuck shit up and they're kind of idiots. So not only is work messing with me, but what I realized, because I've been going through like different phases of it, and like I think this is something I learned in therapy, is going through all the emotions of something. And I think I always went through the emotions of something before, but I never acknowledged each phase of them. And I think that maybe I learned that in therapy. Is that something you learned in therapy too?
I think so, yeah.
Because like normally I'd be like going through the fucking
Like,
motions.
you don't let yourself sit with the emotion.
Yeah, or you didn't like acknowledge what that emotion was. Like I would notice like, okay, now I'm in the uncomfortable phase, or now I'm in the like spiraling phase, or now I'm in the angry phase. Like I didn't I didn't tie an emotion to each phase. I just went through each phase. And I think that's probably why we handled our 20s so wildly, is because we didn't know how to like tie something to it. But what I've established is work is so much of my life that when work is not going well, it really puts me in an uncomfortable spot. It's great when it's going great. It's like I'm on top of the world. But work is like so much of who I am as a person. It's like so much of my identity. And you probably feel this way with like yoga and stuff. Like if it's not flowing right, you're probably like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
And so for me, when work gets like out of whack, I'm suddenly like, who am I even with if I don't have this? And it's like put me in some really uncomfortable places where I'm like really having to be like, okay, work is not your only identity. If this doesn't work out or this doesn't work out, like there's more to you. Like you have more substance than X. And I went through this at one point too with being a mom, where if I didn't feel like I was being a good enough mom or I wasn't the perfect mom on Instagram, I would be like, but if I'm not this, then I'm not a mom. Like, so I think that my brain has had a hard time this week going through those things, but I thought it was also really cool that I knew how to like acknowledge each phase of it and I allowed myself to go through each phase of it. I read my cards, which I like don't do a lot anymore, but like I read them and they were like, change is okay, like it's gonna be okay, like all these things. But work has been putting me through the ringer. I feel like my relationship with Wally is like also really annoying right now. And I think we didn't talk about this on the relationship episode, so I wanted to make sure I mentioned it here. I didn't listen to the second half of our
Me either. I got
relationship
scared.
episode. I started
scared.
it. God, I started it, but then I didn't download our episode fully, and then I was in the air and it was a whole problem. Fuck flying, not on Delta. But what I wanted to make sure, and maybe I mentioned it, but I don't think we did. What I wanted to make sure that we mentioned about relationship is like it takes effort. It takes you being like, okay, we're in a phase, we need to fix it, or you keep ignoring it. And I don't feel like we highlighted that very much, but like right now, Wally and I are in this phase of like, okay, we probably need to like have a conversation, and we also need to both step it up because it takes both of you to do that. And right now we're in like a really busy, chaotic state, and we're both getting irritable with each other, and we're not taking time for each other, we're not going on dates, we're not like doing things together. And when you ignore that, it just makes everything so irritable. So I need to have a conversation with him. I'm sure he also wants to have a conversation with me, but we have a problem in our relationship, and I'm sure most of you do, where we wait too long to have the conversation. And that's something I want to like highlight is like all of us are going through the same thing. You wait too long to talk about it, or you talk about it too soon, or you force talking about it. And therapy taught me communication is like so key to our relationship, and I always wait too long. And right now we're in the wait too long stage, but that is also so work and that are making me want to like punch people in the face. So that's how I am right now.
You know, I feel like Tony and I are in a really good space. I feel like I'm more at odds with myself. I feel like how you feel with Wally with myself.
Ooh, interesting.
Honestly, like, I don't know. Like, it's weird. Like,
you're irritated at yourself?
Yeah. Yeah.
Interesting.
So I'm doing my moon circle tomorrow, and it's like a big deal to me to like make sure my energy's right before I open up that space, because moon circles are so sensitive that like I can't be going through my own shit if I'm holding space for other people, which I also really want to do an episode about holding space, because I know I say that a lot and that's like kind of a buzzword type thing, but I really want to talk about that, but that's a side note. Anyway, so it's really a big deal to me to make sure my shit is taken care of before I do any like moon circles for anybody else. So I went to like a restorative yoga class last night and a breathwork session, and it was so wild. And it was like, because so I mentioned seed cycling last episode. I still live by seed cycling, but I
still highly recommend
I
it.
do highly recommend it, but I'm allergic to one of the seeds I was cycling. So I've had hives for over a week. I'm 33 years old and never had hives before. This is literal hell, you guys. Like, it is literal hell. I don't know what seed I'm allergic to. I'm assuming it's pumpkin seed, but I don't know for
not
sure.
The fall girly.
I know.
Not the basic white bitch being sensitive
I
to
know.
pumpkin.
Tony told me that. He's like, I think it might be the pumpkin seed. And I was like, I drink pumpkin all the time. He's all, Taylor, the syrups don't count. And I was like, shit, you're probably right. Anyways, I'm having a severe allergic reaction. I even have hives showing up on my arm right now. But anyways, what was I saying? Oh, the breathwork session. So this week I've been going through it because I have been, and you mentioned it earlier about like the book Glow in the Fucking Dark. If you guys have not read it, highly recommend to read it.
I also highly recommend.
But it's about talking nice to your body, and this week has been not nice. Like, I've been like, you've had this fucking ulcer for a year, you're having these hives. Like, I'm so sick and tired of dealing with something medical. And our friend actually Marco Poloed me, and she's like, I listened to your podcast episode and I feel like a bad friend. I didn't know any of this was going on. And like, it
yeah, you are. Just kidding. Also, same.
It also like really triggered me that like, I don't like to be the person that always has something medical going on. Like, it reminds me so much of my dad.
Ooh.
That when I was listening to Marco Polo and her saying that, and she's like, I just didn't know like things were so bad and blah, blah, blah. Like, I didn't know you were still having problems with your leg. And I was like, it's because I don't talk about it because it's very triggering to me.
Yeah.
And so I'll just like deal with it with myself. And obviously Tony knows about it because he lives with me and has to deal with the anxiety with it. But like, I don't know, like I've been so hard on myself this week. And last night during breath work, if you guys have not done breath work, it's so wild. Like it feels what I imagine Cambo, the frog venom thing,
Oh
or
gosh, I don't even know what
ayahuasca,
you're talking about.
or what ayahuasca feels like, but you're like sober doing it. Like anytime I do breathwork sessions, I'm completely sober because it feels, I don't know, breathwork is really amazing.
Here's something that I'm so sorry, I'm not trying to cut
No,
you
you're
off,
fine.
but this is something I've learned recently. You always like you're always like, you need to do breath work, you need to do meditation,
Mhm.
blah, blah, blah. One thing I have learned, and this is why it ties in, I have learned I don't like breath work and those things because it gives me this outer body experience. It gives me that like high and like this
Mhm.
tingling thing that I don't feel like I have control over. And because of my sexual assault, where I didn't have control over my body, it
It's a
makes me
trigger for you.
uncomfortable. No, it's like I'm confident I was probably date raped
Uh-huh.
with like a drug, and that's why like I don't do drugs, because it's like with
Mhm.
alcohol I know what I'm getting into.
Yeah.
And so with this, when my body starts to get to this space, it's very scary for me, where because my
Interesting.
hands are tingling, my whole
Mhm.
body feels light, which is what you guys want, like
Mhm.
which is what you're trying to do. But for me, it's not a comfortable space because I don't feel in control. It's like it took my body and it's not mine anymore.
Here's the thing
Isn't that
though.
wild?
No, it's not, because I hate that feeling as well. That's why
Really?
I do my ketamine sessions so far and few in between. I was actually telling the providers I work for on Friday, I was like, I really need another ketamine session, but I really hate that
Ugh.
disassociation so much. Like, and even sometimes when I get too drunk, what causes me like that anxiety, that drunk anxiety, is because I feel like I'm out of control. And I
Really?
hate that so
So breath work
much.
doesn't make you feel
No, it
that feeling?
does. It
Oh,
does.
but it's comfortable to you now.
No, it's
No.
not.
Okay.
But it gives me that challenge that I'm like, I'm safe. Like, okay, so the girl I do breathwork with, her name is Kim. She's amazing. She's actually become a really good friend, and she is truly. I was texting her last night after the session, and I was like, I feel like I've known you in another life. Like, it literally is bringing tears to my eyes. She's amazing. But she kept saying like the whole time, because last night, like I've done 3 or 4 breathwork sessions with her. Jen also makes me cry. So if the tears happen, just let them happen, okay?
Listen, Gina at noon is a different level,
Yes.
okay?
Anyways, I've done a lot of breathwork sessions with her, and the last one we did the winter solstice, and my friend Heidi came with me, and she was like, I don't think I've told you this. She saw my dad there. Did I
Ew,
tell you
what?
this? So she like opened her eyes at some point through it, and she saw my dad
Kim
sitting.
or
No,
Heidi?
Heidi.
Yeesh.
She saw my dad sitting next to me, and at the end, like I looked at her and I was like, "So
Oh
how
my.
was your thing?" And she was like, "Dude," and she was like pale, and I was like, "What's wrong?" And she's like, "I think I saw your dad," and I
I
was like,
have
"Huh?"
my nipples are so hard
And
right
she's
now.
never seen, so Heidi's my friend from Logan. Like she did not know my dad. She didn't know me when my dad died, like all the things. And she's like, does your dad look like this? So we just grabbed her crystal. She's like, does your dad look like this? And she explained him to a T. And I said, hold on, let me pull up a picture. And I showed her a picture, and she's like, dude, that was your fucking dad. He was sitting by you the whole
Oh my
time.
god, I'm
And I was
so
like, what the heck? So like breathwork does some crazy things for me. But anyways, last night, I don't remember where I was going with this story. Oh, last night it was even that last time, like I always feel my dad kind of around me, but like I've never seen him around me, obviously. But like last night,
Mike, please don't show up when I'm around. Please. I will be very scared.
he actually does show up in ways I think you don't know, like the wheelchair man.
Oh yeah. That's fine. I just don't want to see his like I don't want to see him next to you.
Anyways, last night it was so weird. Like I could barely do the breathwork pattern she was teaching us, and I just like sobbed the whole time. Like I was trying to do the pattern, and I couldn't do it. Like I would try, and then I'd feel really nauseous, and I'd be like, no, I have to breathe normally. Like I can't do this. But yesterday she opened it up to like anybody. So Tony came. There was so many men in there, which I think is so amazing. I really think all men need to do yoga, meditation, breath work, like
Therapy.
yeah, therapy. Like I don't know, there was so almost equal men to women, which was so amazing to see. But you could feel that masculine energy. Have I told you about my goddess that came during my Reiki yoga?
No.
What the fuck? How have I
I
not?
think we did do drugs before we got here, guys.
We did do a little.
We we did not do drugs, but we did have a chocolate with mushrooms in it. But it's not like the
Illegal kind.
illegal kind of mushrooms.
I really haven't told you about this?
No.
Oh my God,
Okay,
why?
but do we need to talk about it now? Does it apply to the story?
Yes,
Okay.
because she came back. Okay, so a few months ago, I went to just like a regular yoga class at the yoga studio. Like it was no big deal. The teacher, she does Reiki like during the class, and it was like a mix of like yoga and a sound bath in one. And she does like Reiki throughout it. Okay. No big deal. I was just like, I feel like I need some yoga tonight. Like, I'm just gonna go. So I went, and during the like sound bath, I was because I have a really hard time like focusing on meditation for longer than like 5 minutes, right? So I was like, okay, just focus on the sound of the sound bowl, and that will help you get into the meditation. It did help. And I literally saw a lady sitting by me, by my head, and she looked like the like goddess on the tarot
Okay,
cards.
here's something I have to know. Because these spiritual things don't happen to me. Are they small people? Are they full-size people? When you see like you and our other friend talk about like, and then this person was there and they were right next to you. I'm like, are they midgets? Are they
No,
full-size?
they're
Are
not.
they little trinket people? Like
Little
I
Thumbelinas?
yes, I need to. I shared what my trauma is with Thumbelina, didn't I?
No.
With my mom's porno.
No. Oh my God, yes, you did. That your mom recorded porno over Thumbelina?
Sorry, mom. But that's what I wonder. Like, what size are these people next to you guys?
You know, that's a good question. I'm not really sure.
Does it feel like I would like you're laying there?
No,
Does it
it
feel like
doesn't
I
feel
came and sat there?
no, it just feels like a presence.
Okay.
And I saw her. She looked like the goddess on some tarot cards.
So it's like you can see their face
you
and like
can
their
see their
body,
face
but
very clearly.
you're not seeing their like actual
Mm-mm.
dimensions.
No, it's
okay.
mostly their face.
That's what I needed to know.
So she was just sitting with me the whole time, and she was just like playing with my hair and just like I don't know, it was so comforting. Like it wasn't scary at all. It was just very comforting. And I just like got out of the yoga class and I was like, that was fucking weird. Like I've never seen that before. And so I looked up like the goddess, not the goddess, what's the name of the tarot card? Not goddess. I can't remember.
Don't ask me right now. It's gin o'clock.
I'll look it up. But I looked up like that meaning on multiple different websites in all of my tarot books, and none of them. The Empress, yes. I have a deck that she's the goddess instead of the Empress. But anyways, I looked up the meaning of it, and none of it like resonated with me. So I was like, that was really weird. Like I don't know what she was doing there, but like okay. So anyways, last night. I swear, this sounds so crazy. I swear I healed some sort of generational trauma because she was with me and she was holding my head in her hands and she was just holding me like
while you were also sobbing.
While I was sobbing, and I kept trying to do the breath work, and in my head I was like, Taylor, what the fuck is wrong with you? Like you can do this. You've done this so many times. Like it's fine. And then she appeared. And then she like just held my head and she's like, it's okay. Like just cry. And I cried, like sobbed for my mom, sobbed for my grandma, sobbed about grief about my dad, like all these things I was just sobbing about. And then like at the end, like I felt really tired, but it was just like I felt so like towards the end, I was like putting my hand like where my solar plexus chakra is and just like kind of holding it there and just like trying to just like breathe because at the end she brought us into just like a meditative state and I was just like trying to breathe and I literally felt like a weight was lifted. This sounds so weird. I literally felt like a weight was like lifted off of that chakra and it just like I don't know, it was so weird. And I didn't think I was crying as hard as I was until I removed like my eye mask and it was like soaked. And I was like, weird. But like
interesting.
I also felt like my dad was with me. Like it felt like this lady was holding my head, and then it felt like my dad like had his hand on my shoulder. And it was so weird. It was so
you've
weird.
always had like this like spiritual connection. I think all of them are good. You're like really in your spiritual era, which is great because for the last like month, we already talked about how many years we don't remember, but I would say like the last 3 years, your cards kept saying like, get fucking spiritual.
Yeah.
So I think this is all great, and I think it's making you uncomfy.
It is.
But so you were saying like you don't feel, you're like, you haven't been feeling like yourself.
No, I
this
haven't
week?
been
Do you
feeling
feel
like
better now
myself.
today?
Kind of. Like this lady, she kept whispering in my ear. She said, "You're gonna be okay. You're gonna be okay." Like she kept saying that over and over again. And in my head, I was having a conversation with her, and I was like, "But my leg, like it's not healing." And she just kept saying over and over. As she was like holding, I could feel her hands on my head right here, and she kept saying, "You're gonna be okay. You're gonna be okay." And I was like, "But my leg, all this, like I have these hives. My leg is itching. Blah blah blah." And she just kept, "You're gonna be okay, you're gonna be okay." And then I feel like my dad pushed on my shoulder. Like it was very strange.
Have you ever thought about the fact that maybe your hives are your body purging some stuff?
Yeah. Yeah. That's actually, yeah, what the switch doctor
Because
lady
like
said.
like things like that happening or coming out, I think are probably good.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, you could be allergic, but you could also just be purging.
Yeah.
Which maybe you need to do.
Yeah. I don't know, you guys.
Purge, bitch.
It's been this era of my life has been very creepy and very strange. So, anyways, that's what I'm going through right
It's
now.
funny that like it's weird when we have episodes like this and we just like have random things that tie in together. But I went on a walk this morning and it was like a Peloton walk, and it was a R&B walk, which like the music was so, again, very Usher. And I was sitting here like, this is fucking annoying. But it was only like they don't have a ton of outdoor walks.
They don't. It bugs me.
But it was with Alex, who like, God, I love him. And I wrote down a note, and he was like talking about reflecting on your week and just your month. And he was like saying, he said, look how much you have gone through in just a week. Look at all the different phases you went through in the week or even the month. And I started thinking, I was like, God, we really don't reflect enough about how much our bodies and our minds and our spirits are going through every single week or month. And then each time we still get up and we show up and we do our absolute best. It might not feel that way. We cut ourselves down all the time. But if you really like reflect, you're gonna be like, holy shit, remember how like 2 days ago I was like literally thought I was like basically dying. It felt like, you know, like you go through all these phases. And like the biggest thing that stuck out to me is like the only person getting us through it is us. We do have like spiritual things and other things that are helping us get through, or friends, family, those types of things. But for the most part, you're the person every single day that shows up and does what you're supposed to do or want to do or what your body needs. And we don't give ourselves enough credit for it. Like, I'm really good at like pumping myself up. Like, I think I'm actually a literal badass. Taylor doesn't feel the same about herself sometimes, but like all the time I'm like, no one's gonna tell me that besides myself. And like, unless we did that for ourselves, we would not go through all these crazy things every single month or week. And I was like, I need to reflect a little bit more.
Yeah. You are so amazing at like hyping yourself up. Like honestly, I texted Shelby like at the beginning of this week, I think.
Yeah.
And I was like, I need some of your energy of like hyping myself up because you are so good at that. Like I get in this weird space in my head that I'm like, maybe I'm being selfish, maybe I'm being conceited. Like I can't like hype myself up that way. I think that's amazing that you can do that.
Honestly, a lot of it I think comes down to society and people being judgmental. Like I posted a lot of shit this week on my Instagram stories, and I was like, there's people out there that are like, fuck her. Like she thinks she's so cool. She thinks she's amazing. God, she's the worst. I can't believe she dares post this reel. Like all of these things. But I'm sorry, you're also trying to start your own business, or you're also promoting yourself, but you're so insecure and judgmental that no one will support you because you're being a little bitch. Like if you look at somebody and you think, God, she's so annoying, that's literally you saying that to yourself. Like if you feel scared to do it, then you absolutely should do it. Like it's not comfortable. Sometimes I'm like, people probably think I'm really fucking conceited and weird and think I'm really great, but like I am.
You are.
And if they look at that in the negative, they're so insecure. And I think it's because people always think I'm like too much. They like I've always felt like people think I'm too much. They indicate to me or they tell me like, God, you're so much, you're too aggressive, blah blah blah. And then I'm like, that's them trying to make me make them feel comfortable. And what's true to me, like I know I'm badass when it comes to business. I know that I like can take things so far.
Yeah.
And if I don't have that, no one else is gonna do that for me. They're gonna quiet me. And that's why like women go through all these phases. Again, closet feminist. But it's
I think
because
you're out of the closet, okay?
I know every time I say that, people are like, "You're not a closet. You fucking hate men." But like that's what's crazy though. Is like there's people that are like they want to start their own business or they want to do the things that we're doing, but then they make us feel uncomfortable. So like you feel uncomfortable having your power, even though you step out of it so much more. But then there's people that are also like, oh, I wish someone would like my page or like my post or be supportive, but they're also not supportive to us. So like what goes around comes around. And also like the more that you're doing it, the more you're encouraging other people to do it. And like also fuck them.
How did you like come into that though? Do you feel like you were born with it, or do you feel like your life experiences have made it that way?
I think really at the end of the day, people are so savage. I've been around so many people that are like so good, but then so bad, or pretend to be supportive and then they're not supportive. And like I've said it before, like you cross me, like you're kind of done. Like you show your true colors. I can see people's genuine energy and like yes, it could hurt, but I could also sit and be like, oh no, they made me feel bad. Or I could be like, I don't even fucking like them anyways. Like, you know what I mean? So I think because I saw so much sadness watching like family and how they can betray each other or people and how they can betray each other and like not be there, that I was like, I only want the highest people around me. And also I think that just like built me up of like, I can do whatever I want. I can accomplish what I want and I don't need them to do it. And I don't need other people to be successful. I think that's really where it came from. I don't know.
Interesting.
Maybe.
Yeah, I don't know, because I don't have that. I really don't have that. Like, even when people tell me, like, oh, you're killing it with yoga, or when my classes are always sold out, or
But
all
you
the things.
had a dad that like really cut
Yeah,
you down.
yeah.
And like you grew up in like a different area where people like I grew up with like fucking cutthroat people in London, you know, like where it's like if you're not this person, like so many things, but you also had like so many different opinions
Yeah.
that were fake or fake and then unreal or real. Like you never had any way of
Yeah, people
identifying
did
it.
so many things. Like growing up, I look at like my life and the people that I had in my life, the people in our neighborhood, all the things, they did so much shit behind your back that it's like you may be saying this to my face, but what are you saying behind my back?
I mean, it goes to what everyone says. If they're talking shit with you about other people, they're doing it about you. Like that's for sure. But I think because I think your dad has a special place for why that's really hard for you. But I would also say too, like, I think you grew up with a ton of opinions. I grew up with a lot of negative opinions.
Yeah.
A lot of negative things where I was just like, okay, and energies are a lot for me. Like energy is always something I've been able to like read on people. And for me, getting a bunch of negativity, it was easier for me to be like, okay, this is a lot of bullshit. I can just get away from it. And yours is more like having a lot of it, but not being able to make what's right or wrong.
Yeah.
And then your dad was like really intense. My grandma was intense to other people in my family, but not as intense to me. I like stayed away from it. And I think you consume yourself around people because you're like softer. I'm more of like, yeah, you're not sold by.
It makes me wonder though, like, since I'm the oldest in my family and you're the youngest, how that dynamic plays as well.
Oh, for sure.
Because
I watched.
yeah.
I like sat back and watched. And you were like the person people were watching. You know what I mean?
And I noticed that like with my youngest sister, she does a lot of things like you as well. And I'm like, it has to be the youngest thing that they see the older ones make these mistakes. So
They
they're
see
like,
what people are saying about the other people.
Yep.
They watch how people are responding to them. And then they're like, well, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to sit over here and be quiet. And then they pop off.
Yep. That's true.
But I don't know. It's just, God, life is just crazy.
It really
honestly
is so crazy.
We've gotten so off topic, but while we're on this like whole spiritual realm, one of the things that happened to me while I was in New York or flying to New York, I was watching the sunrise on my flight to New York, and it was just like coming up, and like usually when I fly, I get in like these weird like I have so many plane thoughts. But when I like opened the window and the sunrise was coming up over like I don't even fucking know, Nebraska, somewhere crazy. And you just really look at it, and I kept thinking, and I think this all the time, the universe is so big and it's
Mhm.
so insane. Like I could be in West Jordan and this could be happening. It would not have the same impact when you're above ground and you're seeing it like from up high that this is some other town and other people are waking up to the same sun that I would
Mhm.
be seeing later. It blows my mind. And I also started to think, at what age did we become the people that look at a landscape and go, oh my God, this is beautiful? Because this was not always me. People would be like, the mountains, the this, the sun, blah, 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 look at that sunrise. And be like, uh-huh. And
Our
then
30th birthday, when we were driving through Napa, we're like, oh my God, it's
There's
so
vineyards.
beautiful.
Yes.
Must be an olive tree. It's so beautiful.
Like, I really genuinely thought, at what age did we flip? What age do you
Yeah.
flip?
I honestly feel like when I was 30, I really realized what beauty is around me. And as I get older, it just gets more intense. And I'm like,
It's
holy shit,
so
it's beautiful.
weird.
Yeah.
It is insane to me. Like, and that's, I think traveling has opened my eyes like even
Mhm.
more. Like, we had a connecting flight in, where did we go for that conference?
Minneapolis.
Minneapolis.
Mhm.
We were somewhere over there. And we were landing, and the amount of lakes and water all around. Every time I go to the East Coast, I'm
They
blown
have so
away
much water over there.
everywhere. Like
Mhm.
we're like driving an hour just to get to a lake.
Yeah.
There, it's literally everywhere. And I was just thinking, like, this is everywhere around the world. And like all I would see if I stayed in West Jordan and didn't travel and only went to like my certain locations, I would never be able to be like, holy shit, like this place is full of water. And like look at
Mhm.
these houses surrounding this water. And like it's so weird. And I just kept thinking, when did I get old enough to appreciate this? And it's weird because it's like peaceful.
Yeah.
And I used to be like never giving a fuck about a landscape. And
Yeah.
now I'm like, God, this is so beautiful. I could cry.
Getting old is so weird.
But we're so young.
Yeah.
It's so strange to me.
I don't know, like every time, like I grew up in the Salt Lake Valley. These mountains are nothing new to me, but now that I've lived outside of the valley, every time I come to your house, I'm like, holy shit, these mountains are so huge and so pretty. Like sometimes it stops my breath.
It
Like,
happens to me still too.
yeah,
And
I'm
like,
like, oh my
but
gosh.
you have to remove yourself from it to
Mhm.
appreciate it. And that's what's
Mhm.
crazy to me. Like I'll leave town or something, or I've been like super busy and I haven't like done something. And
Mhm.
I'll be driving, and I'll be like, holy shit, these mountains really are. I've probably been making this go off so much.
I haven't even been paying attention.
Same.
Henley's like, are you guys done?
But yeah, it's crazy. Like, and I think that's what's so insane to me is like people that don't travel, like you really need to expose yourself
I
to
agree.
other places. Like you
Mhm.
get so it's same with anything. You get so
Mhm.
comfortable in a relationship or a friendship. Like if I didn't meet other people, I would not appreciate Taylor the way that I appreciate her. If I didn't like have to be surrounded by other people, I'd be like, like you just get so consumed
Yeah.
in your environment and you think this is just the only normal thing. And
Mhm.
until you really experience the world and travel and see other things, your eyes really open.
Yeah.
And it's
I agree.
freaking nuts. And the universe itself again is just nuts.
Yeah. I agree. Even just going down to Canap, like just seeing the red rocks and seeing all the different things, I'm just like, holy shit, like this world is just amazing.
Yeah, again, it seems like I smoke weed half the time, but I'm constantly like, this is so crazy. Like, there was so much farmland too in Minneapolis. Like, so much farmland.
Really?
And same with Amsterdam. And you just don't realize that this
Mhm.
is where products are coming from,
Mhm.
or like how is there that many farms?
I just still think about Minneapolis and that farmer's market that we walked through and those big, delicious peonies that you could smell all the way down the road. I still think about that.
Okay, here's another thing that I wanted to talk about. I have a problem saying no to free wine.
Don't we all?
I have a problem saying no to a drink for sure. Like
Uh-huh.
I'm down for the experience of having fun,
Mhm.
which is probably my Enneagram 7 a lot that comes out, which we definitely
Welcome
have
to my
But
life.
I drink more than you and you're 7.
But I also smoke weed a lot more than you.
Facts. But you're also not as uptight as I am. I think because I'm so uptight,
Mhm.
that's why it's like easier. But like
Mhm.
our flight to New York, we had a connecting flight. Our flight to New York was at 6 a.m. And
You have to get a plane.
I got upgraded to first class, and I was like, not feeling it. I was tired as heck. I can't believe I just said heck.
Did you just see my face? I'm so confused.
I'm trying not to swear.
I'm tired as heck.
It sounds stupid.
That's gonna be our next swag. Tired as heck.
I was so tired, and I was like, you're not even hungry. You don't need the breakfast that they're gonna give you. You don't even want the wine. You're so tired, and you just don't need it. And it doesn't align with your fitness goals and your health goals. And you're gonna already be drinking a lot. And I kept like saying this. I'm like, okay, we don't want it. We don't want it. We already know we don't want it. It's fine. It's okay to say no. The second that bitch finally walked by, would you like anything to drink? A Prosecco, please. Like, not even, I didn't even pause. It was not, there was no pause. It was just straight up like, yeah, of course you have to. I cannot say no to it. And then I got lit at like 7 a.m.
Listen,
in
I have the
Minneapolis.
same problem because I just mentioned in the last podcast that I was like loving this damp life, and I am. Like, I definitely am. But like, I'm not gonna pass out a boozy afternoon. You know what I mean?
It's true. And I think that's why I try to like not drink as much during the week and things like that. Like, I do love social drinking. I really enjoy it. I have so much fun.
And it's not even like being drunk aspect.
No.
It's just like the drink tastes good.
Yes.
You're more chatty, like you're laughy, like it's
The
just
experiences,
vibe.
the experiences for me, not for everyone. For me, top notch. Like, I love them. I have the most fun. When we have a drunk girls weekend in Mesquite, best time ever. Like,
highlight of my life.
But it's also because we're in like a healthy place, I would say, with like alcohol, because back in the day when we were chugging like fridge bagged wine, like we would be crying, fighting, all of the things.
But like still, those are still like silly memories because you were 22.
I hated them. I hated when people would start fighting. I
never fought. I just
all the
was
couples
like
would always fight, remember?
Yeah, but I mean, I was divorced, so it's fine. I was just there for
you were swiping your whiskey off my counter. I forgot.
No big deal.
We did fight. But yeah, I can't say no to the vibe. Vibes control my life. It's 100% like a fact. Like, when I came home from New York, I was like, okay, I have to go to Vegas for work. I'm going to be drinking again, staying up late, like having fun with my like coworkers, and I have an opportunity to be sober until Galentine's. I couldn't make it. Work got in the way, vibes got in the way, like whatever it was, and I was just like, why do I restrict myself? A vibe needs to control my life, but I can't say no to free wine.
I think that if you just are at a healthy place with it, it is what it is.
I think because there was a point in my life where I was in an unhealthy place with alcohol. Like, when we first got Jaden, I was in a very unhealthy place with alcohol. Like, I used it to like, what the fuck is going on? And then I learned that's what I was doing. I think because I saw that, I now know how to not do that. But I think that's just life.
Yeah,
really.
I feel like when you're
you have to go through it to know better.
When Tony and I were separated, I was in a terrible place with alcohol, and now I'm like, I'll never get to that place again. Like, I'm good to have a boozy afternoon and drink gin at noon.
Gin at noon, baby. Okay, I feel like I've been talking your ear off, so I don't know if you have other things to say, but the other thing I want to say is, do you ever think about how embarrassed you would feel? Or maybe I only feel embarrassed. How embarrassed you would feel if people saw the things that you Google? Google history?
Yes.
I Google weird shit.
I Google some shit.
I Google the weirdest things. And I think everyone's doing it.
Yeah.
Maybe they're not. I think we all are.
Very curious because I Googled some shit. Like, even on our drive down to Kanab, I was telling Tony, like, can you Google this? Can you Google this? Like, random thoughts.
This is why cars need Google.
Yes. And he was like, what? And I was like, just Google it. I need to know the answer. Like, just Google it. Read me the top thing.
This is an ick of mine. I'll be driving and Wally's in the passenger seat and we'll be talking and I'll be like, asking a question of like, what do you think this is? Which is a Googleable answer. And he'll be like, I don't know. And instead, I'm like, get your fucking phone out and
have Google.
Let's find out the answer.
Yeah, I agree.
But he doesn't ever look for the answer.
I agree.
This is why I swear to God, Google needs to enter the car.
Hey Google,
industry.
can you give me this answer?
Because all I could say is push a button. I think Google's talking to you right now.
What?
It's over there.
Oh my god. Creepy. That is creepy though.
But this is why cars need it, because you could be like, okay, Google, how fast does the moon move? Whatever,
Oh my
you know,
god, how fast does the moon move?
it moves like 2,000 something miles per hour.
Shit.
I looked it up last night because I was trying to sit in my hot tub when it was like finally over my hot tub. It took a minute, but it goes pretty fast. Okay, so I Google a lot of weird things, and that's why I was wondering. Like sometimes I'll Google something, I'm like, make sure you exit this tab, because what if someone pulled up your phone to like search something?
What are you Googling?
Or what if I searched something and they were like, why were you Googling this about X?
What was your last Google search?
Well, the last one is about brushing your American Girl doll's hair. But there's times where I have questions about, like, I Googled about Wally just got a vasectomy and it didn't go well, and I was Googling something about like his balls. Like, I Google all the fucking time the weirdest things, and I was thinking, if
you got some
people-
interesting responses.
Let's see if there's anything weird. I have 73 tabs right now.
Holy shit, you don't close those out?
Sometimes. Okay, look, I just started a new thing, and that's how I search. Or do I have to go to actual Google?
You don't have the Google app?
No.
What?
Irritates me to have too many apps. Okay, these are my last Google things. I had to Google sound in high school. Should I brush my American Girl doll's hair wet or dry? How to wash American Girl doll hair. The balloons are going off again. Women's epic. Meltastic, Uncommon James, oven roasted potatoes. Fuck that in Portuguese. A time zone. Okay, so mine are very PG right now, but normally there's all the time. I had to Google that thing about that thing I was getting in my armpit.
Oh yeah.
Like, you just Google weird shit, and I think people would probably be scared for people to know their Google history.
I mean, I Googled the shit out of Love is Blind because I'm on an addiction. So that's what all my recent Googles are.
Okay, well, I just wanted to point out, I think that people would be scared for people to know their Google history.
Yeah.
Am I right?
Yeah.
Okay.
When I worked in OBGYN, my Google history was probably some shit.
Do you thank your Google, like, or your Alexa, like, when
Hell
you're
yeah,
talking
and
to
my
her?
chat GPT.
Same.
Thank you.
I'm so kind to them, and
Yeah.
people are like, sometimes people will be rude to my Google, like, they'll be like, "Ah, fuck you, Google, that wasn't what I asked it." I'll be like, excuse you,
Yeah.
don't talk to her this way.
One time I told my Alexa, thanks, bitch. And she said, I don't appreciate you talking to me like that. And I was like,
That's what I said.
I said, and I literally said back to her, I said, that's a term of endearment. Endearment? Endearment.
I don't let people call me, I mean, you can call me bitch. Friends, close friends, a man can never call me bitch.
No.
They can never say things.
But
bitch.
friends definitely can.
Well,
Friends, sisters, as long as it's like nice, like not like you're a bitch, like yeah, sister bitch, like you know,
what's up, bitch?
Yeah.
It depends how you're saying it, but I would never call my Google or my Alexa or I would never have Alexa, fuck her. I would do that to Alexa. But I do think my chat GPT.
Oh, all the time, and I'll say
I'm
please
like,
and thank you.
I say, hey, good morning. I need to do this.
Yes.
Yeah.
Robots are gonna take over our world one day. We need to be nice.
An attitude of gratitude, and you will be blessed for life. Okay, those are the only things I really needed to talk about.
Okay, I feel like we've got to go to our friend's house for Valentine's, so I don't have anything else to say.
Okay.
So thanks for listening, guys.
Like, subscribe, follow us,
leave us a review.
Please support us. That's all. I mean, honestly, I don't necessarily need you to support us, but sometimes it feels like you guys
feels nice.
You guys appreciate, from what I hear, what we're doing, but you're unwilling to share things or like or comment, and that's really hard because you guys should know on the social media world, if you want to spread the word or help somebody, that's what you have to do. So it'd be really cool if you did that.
Yeah, for sure.
We need that. And also, we can't get in more people's ear holes if you don't share our content.
Ew, that made me so uncomfortable. That made me so uncomfortable.
Anyways, it was great to record with you again.
Yes.
I missed you.
Oh, no.
And also, no, we didn't smoke weed.
We did take shrooms.
Bye.